Hello survivors! Enshrouded has been close to our hearts since its release a few weeks ago. The survival RPG by Keen Game Studios was somewhat of a surprise title for many of us. While the fans love the game, some of us partially included, were a little bit frustrated about the solution on how multiplayer has been handled on servers. As a short summary, progression in Enshrouded is server-based. That means players have to play together at all times if everyone cares about doing the full content. That is great when you anyway just play together. It sucks when you are in different time zones or if one person has more time than the other. That means it could happen that you log in and suddenly quests are already done without you and you're missing out on experience and potentially lore. Players were not happy, and the way the progression system was handled was one of the biggest critique points that people who love to play the game with their friends had. The Enshrouded Devs have now published a statement about this topic, in which they explained what their initial vision for the Enshrouded multiplayer was. Their idea was that people are not forced into doing all the quests in order to progress. They expected that not everyone wants to explore, do puzzles or kill bosses. They wanted to make it possible for people to already join existing servers and play the same content their friends play without having to keep up with the quests and the progression. It was never meant to be an MMO-like multiplayer scenario, but just a game for a big friend group. The players disagreed though, and King Games is now working on including optional steps that makes it easier for players to do their own things without disturbing the overall progression of the group playing. One of these steps was already included in the game, and that was to reduce the spawn timer of bosses and the reset timer of areas to 30 minutes in which no one has been in the area, so they get reset. Shroud routes can now also be repeated. You just won't get the initial skill point, but the bosses can now be farmed. The developers will also point out in the quest log which quests are personal quests and which ones are server progression quests, so players can easily see which quests they can do without destroying other players' progression. They're also looking into allowing multiple instances of the same NPC being active in several bases, so people can set up different spots on the map and having their own base set up. While they have no timeline yet when these changes will be implemented, they said the work for it has already begun and they hope they will be able to put it in the game soon. But it is important to mention that the overall system of how Enshrouded will handle multiplayer will not change, but these measurements are just optional steps they do to make multiplayer easier for groups that can't be online at the same time at all times. I personally think this is a step in the correct direction because we experienced it ourselves, that some of us have more time and the urge to play than others, and this is a situation in which no one is really happy. The people who can't play a lot have the feeling they're missing out on important progression steps, and the person who has the time to play has to hold back with the content they really enjoy doing. And I hope we will find more and more optional settings for servers, especially considering this was the most requested feature on their feature request board. And if you want to read the full statement by King Games, I posted it in the description. And if you like news and guides for games like Enshrouded, feel free to leave us up. Thank you for taking your time watching. Stay alive and thrive.